Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the 6G Global Summit 2025, hosted in our vibrant city of Hong Kong. My name is Patrina Wong, and I'm honored to be your MC in this morning's opening ceremony. On behalf of the Communications Authority of the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, may I extend a warm welcome to all of you, including our local attendees, those who have traveled from afar, and our online participants joining us from around the globe. Your presence highlights our shared commitment to shaping a better future with 6G. This year marks a historic milestone as we celebrate the 4th edition of the summit, and also its first ever convening in this Asia-Pacific region. None of this would be possible without the tireless effort of our organizer, Forum Global, who has worked diligently to bring together over 40 esteemed moderators and speakers, who are top-tier representatives from regulatory bodies, international organizations, telecommunications operators and corporations, industry experts, and scholars. In the coming 2 days, they will share their views and insights on different aspects of 6G and also its immense potentials. Let us take a moment to acknowledge their dedication in making this prestigious event possible in Hong Kong. To kick off our opening ceremony, it is my pleasure to first invite Mr. Charles Leung, Director General of Communications, Office of the Communications Authority, to deliver the welcome speech. Mr. Leung, please.
Good morning, Mr. Eljalon Yao, Mr. Bruce McFarlane, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 6G Global Forum 2025 here in Hong Kong. First of all, my sincere thanks to Global Forum for inviting the Communications Authority in Hong Kong to be the host of its flagship event, which is the first time conducted in Asia-Pacific region. May I also extend my warmest welcome to all of you, especially those coming from afar. Over 600 participants from more than 80 countries joining this summit, either in person or online. They include high-level representatives from policymakers, regulatory bodies, international organizations, telecommunication corporations, industry experts, and scholars. Before we start, I would like to briefly introduce the mobile telecommunication service development in Hong Kong. Since the commercial launch of 5G back in April 2020, 5G network have been extended to over 99% of the population, and the 5G service subscriptions have surpassed the whole population. Mobile network operators are also offering 5G advanced services to their corporate customers. According to a recent report published by GSMA, the 5G connectivity index of Hong Kong was ranked the first in the Asia-Pacific region. The extensive network coverage, coupled with high service adoption rate, not only support a wide range of innovative applications, but also bring new business opportunities to various sectors. To uphold Hong Kong's role as a regional telecommunication hub, we have been implementing a series of policy initiatives to facilitate further development. Among others, we have made available more than 5,000 megahertz of spectrum during the last 6 years for 5G development. In fact, Hong Kong is the first economy in the world to have auction radio spectrum in the upper 6 gigahertz band in November last year. The spectrum is suitable for provision of 5G services now and 6G services in the future. We have lately amended the Telecommunications Ordinance to mandate the provision of floor space in new buildings for 5G base stations. And it is our plan to launch a subsidy scheme at the middle of this year for mobile network operators to better cover country parks and remote areas. To pave the way for more advanced mobile network service, such as 6G, we are in the process of streamlining the licensing arrangement for low Earth orbit satellites. We also support the development of low-altitude economy on the telecommunication front. It is expected that the first set of technical standards for 6G will be finalized in 2029, so that commercial service can be introduced in 2030. We are delighted to host the 6G Global Summit at this juncture, so that we, together with the fellow participants, can delve into various key aspects of 6G and have a better preparation for it. The discussion topics in these 2 days include 6G vision, standardization roadmap, spectrum planning, potential use cases, sustainability of development, and security challenges in the 6G era. We have invited remarkable speakers from around the globe to share their views and give their insights from different perspectives. As we are together here, we should also explore how we should contribute to and steer the 6G development through collaboration among stakeholders. Before I conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all those who have made this important event possible. They include the event organizer, Global Forum, the network partner, Communications Association of Hong Kong, event supporters, distinguished guests, including speakers from ITU and APT, the delegation led by Guangdong Communications Administration, as well as representatives from other regulatory bodies, telecommunications operators, international organizations, telecommunication experts, and scholars. Your presence here today underscores the importance of global collaboration in shaping the future of telecommunications. While the summit is packed with sections, I sincerely hope that you will be inspired by the insightful sharing by speakers and have a fruitful exchange during the summit. And, of course, for overseas and mainland visitors, I wish you an enjoyable stay in Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Now, I'm delighted to invite Mr. Masanori Kondo, Secretary General of Asia Pacific Telecommunity, APT, to deliver the opening speech. Mr. Kondo will be joining us virtually today. Let us extend a warm welcome to Mr. Kondo. So, Mr. Kondo, please.
Mr. Chosa Leon, Director General of Communications, Office of the Communications Authority, Hong Kong, China. Mr. Algernon Yao, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Hong Kong, China. Mr. Dan Kraft, Manager, Forum Global, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here at the opening of the 6G Global Summit 2025, hosted by the Office of the Communications Authority of Hong Kong and organized by Forum Global. I thank the organizer for inviting APT to take part in this important gathering. This summit comes at a critical moment. As we move forward, 6G, we are not simply improving networks, we are transforming them. Each generation of wireless technology has delivered advances in speed, capacity, and access. But 6G will go further, embedding intelligence into the network itself through AI, machine learning, and advanced analytics to create systems that are dynamic, adaptive, and responsive. This is about more than technologies. It is about transforming how we live, work, and connect. The Asia-Pacific region is leading this shift. Countries such as China, Japan, and the Republic of Korea are not only expanding 5G, but also actively shaping 6G research and development. Thanks to bold investments and forward-looking policies, our region is setting the pace for global innovation. So, ladies and gentlemen, APT is proud to support this progress. With 38 member administrations in this region and over 130 industry and academic partners, we serve as a regional hub for collaboration in wireless development, spectrum harmonization, and policy alignment. We are also committed to inclusivity and equitable digital access across our diverse region. Later this month, APT will hold its ministerial meeting in Tokyo, Japan, under the theme Harnessing Emerging Technologies for Sustainable, Inclusive, and Equitable Digital Transformation in the Asia-Pacific. We expect ministers to reaffirm their shared commitment to advancing ICTs and connectivity as foundations for the digital economy and sustainable development. I commend Forum Global for designing a truly holistic agenda. This summit will explore 6G's vision, its challenges and opportunities, from standardization and spectrum strategy to emerging use cases and environmental responsibility. These are exactly the areas where global collaboration is most needed. So I wish the event every success and look forward to the insights that will emerge over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kondo. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers of the summit this morning. First, please join me to warmly welcome Mr. Algernon Yao, the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development of Hong Kong, China, to deliver the keynote address. Mr. Yao, please.
Mr. Kondo, Mr. McFarland, distinguished guests, our friends and partners from the global telecommunications community, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all today at the 6G Global Summit 2025, hosted for the very first time here in the Asia-Pacific region. This summit marks a pivotal moment for the global telecommunications industry. While 5G has been a progressive step in the history of telecommunications development, delivering faster data speeds, lower latency, and wider coverage, the rapid pace of technological advancement compels us to think ahead and look beyond 5G to prepare for the next transformative leap to 6G. This is why we are all here today, thinking ahead of what 6G exactly is, the technology and standardization what 6G will bring about, the potentials and benefits and how it will transform or even reform our industry and society. And when will it happen, as well as what we need to prepare for the underlying challenges, such as the sustainability and accessibility of the technology. In the next 2 days, with hundreds of experts and top industry leaders here, in person and online, I'm sure that we will be able to come up with brilliant ideas through fruitful discussions and exchanges in this summit which will shape the future of connectivity for the years to come. Being able to host the 6G Global Summit for the first time ever in Hong Kong not only reflects our city's long-standing stature as a global and regional telecommunications hub, it also underscores our commitment to driving innovation and fostering collaboration in this transformative field. Hong Kong is uniquely positioned to play a leading role in the development of 6G. Our city's telecommunications market is one of the most advanced and dynamic in the world, with a proven track record of embracing innovation and driving connectivity. Allow me to share some highlights that showcase Hong Kong's readiness to contribute to the global 6G journey. Since the full liberalization of our telecommunications market in 2003, we have successfully created a level playing field that encourages competition, growth, and innovation, enabling our citizens to enjoy a wide range of world-class telecommunications infrastructures and services. Hong Kong has already achieved territory-wide 5G coverage with about 8 million users, representing over 105% of the population last year. Our 5G availability ranks first in the Asia-Pacific region. With our extensive network infrastructure, our fiber to the home or building penetration rate is around 90%, placing us in the top 5 globally, according to a report issued by the Fiber to the Home Council Europe in March 2025. This robust infrastructure serves as a strong foundation for 6G deployment and reflects our ability to support cutting-edge applications and services. We also lead the world in mobile voice affordability, ranked 2nd globally in mobile broadband affordability, and 7th in fixed broadband affordability, ensuring our telecommunications services are affordable and accessible to all. These achievements are not just about members. They also reflect our readiness to embrace the future of telecommunications. Notwithstanding the above accomplishments, we will not be complacent or stop here. The government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region is fully committed to fostering a conducive environment that drives technological advancement and prepares for the 6G era. In this regard, we are already planning ahead and taking concrete actions to embrace 6G development. To name a few, we became the first city in the world to auction radio spectrum in the 6 and 7 gigahertz band last November, which is a critical step in preparing for the deployment of 6G mobile communications services, demonstrating our proactive approach to adopt and enable the next generation technologies. Our major mobile network operators in Hong Kong have already actively commenced testing and successfully validating 5G Advanced, commonly known as 5.5G network, in various applications. For example, in large-scale drone shows, world-class sports events, etc. Such technology allows us to create a smarter connected network, facilitate business in monitoring operations in real time, share data more efficiently, and analyze collected images and information through advanced platforms. We also see great potential in developing low-altitude economy, which, with its wide applicability in different areas and various industries, thereby injecting new impetus into Hong Kong's economy. The success of this initiative requires second sound infrastructure, particularly a comprehensive, stable, and efficient communication network. As Hong Kong is well covered by 5G network and progressing into 5.5G, as mentioned just now, the city is well positioned to support this development. We are also proactively exploring further facilitation measures from a telecommunications perspective to support the development of low-altitude economy. Beyond terrestrial networks, we see low Earth orbit satellites as a game changer in telecommunications. With their low latency, high transmission rates, and cost efficiency, LEO satellites are transforming industries worldwide. To strengthen Hong Kong's competitiveness in this field, the government is conducting a study to streamline relevant licensing procedures for LEO satellites, with a view to attracting global operators, talent, and investment to establish Hong Kong as a hub for satellite innovation. Recently, we have also seen exciting collaboration between LEO satellite operators and our mobile network operators on satellite mobile connectivity. This is all happening in Hong Kong, and we welcome our partners from the mainland and other parts of the world to join us in transforming new telecommunications technology into promising, innovative applications that enhance the quality of life, thereby benefiting the general public as a whole. We will spare no efforts in continuing our betterment to create an ideal environment to embrace the 6G era. To turn excellence into perfection, achieving this vision will require collaboration on a global scale. Platforms like the 6G Global Summit are essential for uniting billion minds from around the world, fostering innovations, and collectively shaping the future of telecommunications. Today's summit is a testament to the critical role that collaboration plays in driving the future of telecommunications. As we gather here today, let us not forget the importance of collaboration. The development of 6G will require unprecedented partnerships, including governments, industries, academia, and organizations like those present here today must work hand in hand to ensure that 6G networks are inclusive, sustainable, and transformative. Hong Kong is proud to play a pivotal role in this transformative journey, hosting this inaugural 6G Global Summit in the Asia-Pacific region, reflects our city's commitment to innovation and collaboration. It is through gathering like this that we can spark whole ideas and partnership to shape the future of connectivity for generations to come. Today, we are honored to welcome over 600 guests from around the globe. Your presence is the key to the success of the summit. I hope you could also take a moment to enjoy what Hong Kong has to offer. And wishing you all a pleasant stay in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yao, for your insightful presentation. Next, I am pleased to invite Mr. Uwe Lowenstein, Counselor of ITU SG5 of the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, to deliver the keynote presentation. Mr. Lowenstein will be joining us virtually today. Let us extend a warm welcome to Mr. Lowenstein. Mr. Lowenstein, please.
Yes, thank you for the kind introduction and warm welcome from my side as well. Dear distinguished dignitaries, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to be here with you today, although you have probably expected our PR director, Mario Manjevic, but unfortunately, he could not join you in person today. But of course, I shall send his best regards to you. Some of you may know me. I'm the counselor of ITR Study Group 5, and I will discuss the global harmonization efforts for IMT 2030 with you. Our goal is to pave the way towards seamless connectivity and international cooperation, setting the foundation for the next generation of mobile networks. Next slide, please. This is the overview of what I'll cover today. And I'll start with a quick introduction to the ITU, which we will see on the next slide. One further, please. Established in 1865, the ITU is the UN Specialized Agency for Information and Communication Technologies with 194 member states, over 1,000 private sector organizations, and very important, around 170 academia members. Our role includes the global allocation of radio frequency spectrum, the registration of satellite orbits, the development of international regulations, and the worldwide standardization of telecommunications. Next slide, please. You may know this structure of ITU. Here you can see which includes the General Secretariat and the three main sectors, ITUR, ITUT, and ITUD. Each of the sectors has its own assemblies, advisory groups, and specialized study groups or working parties. For example, in ITUR, they focus on areas like spectrum and satellite orbit management. Above all, the Union is governed by the Plenipot Conference, held every 4 years to set strategic direction and elect the leadership, and by the ITU Council, which oversees operations in between the plenipotentiary conferences. Next slide, please. Major events like the World Radio Communication Conference, organized by ITUR every 4 years, play a key role in updating global spectrum and orbit regulations. This enables us to tackle complex challenges and develop effective, inclusive solutions for the global ICT ecosystems. On the next slide, you will see the introduction of the WRC process. This slide shows the full cycle of the process. It starts with the last World Radio Communication Conference 23, which updated the radio regulations and sets the agenda for the next conference. The agenda items are then allocated to the relevant ITUR groups during CPM 27-1. And over the next 4 years, the ITUR study groups conduct technical studies and prepare the draft CPM text, followed by CPM 27-2, where the results are consolidated. The Radio Assembly 27 then will appoint the chairs and vice chairs of the study group, revise the structure of the study groups as appropriate, and approve ITUR recommendations and revises ITUR resolutions. Finally, we arrive at World Radio Communication Conference 27, where the radio regulations are once again revised, continuing the cycle. Let's look on the agenda items in the next slide. We have overall 19 agenda items that will shape the future of our radio communication environment. 4 in the fixed mobile and radio location service, 4 in the mobile satellite service, 6 in the fixed and broadcasting satellite service, and 5 in the science services. These items are all the result of extensive studies and will guide our work in the coming years, including several related to the future of IMT, which I will highlight in the second part of my presentation to ensure that we all address the evolving needs of the ICT sector. On the next slide, we will see the standardization process. This is another important task done by ITU. Through this process, next slide. Through this process, we develop international standards that ensure interoperability and quality across all ICT services. The chart here shows you the IMT family, which represents the evolution of mobile communication standards, from IMT 2000 to IMT 2030, and from 3G to 6G, as it is called on the market. Each generation builds on the last, incorporating new technologies and capabilities, and our naming conventions, as outlined in the recommendations and resolutions, help distinguish these generations and guide their development. Let's have a look at the timeline on the next slide, please. As we look towards IMT 2030 or 6G, we have a clear standardization timeline within ITU. This timeline outlines the steps from requirements and evaluation criteria to the final specification and approval. It has been agreed that the well-known process and deliverable formats utilized for IMT 2000, IMT Advanced, and IMT 2020 should be also utilized for IMT 2030, and is considered as the role model for IMT deliverables to leverage on the prior work. Let's have a look at the IMT framework and capabilities. Next slide. Again, please. The IMT 2030 framework is a comprehensive guide for the development of 6G, which can be considered as the basis for the Standardization Forum to develop the next generation of IMT standards. We have the overall framework, which includes the trends, the usage scenarios, a set of capabilities that will define the performance and features of future networks, as well as considerations of ongoing development. IMT 2030 marks the next leap in mobile communication, and we have laid the foundation with key reports like listed here, and in particular the framework, which can be found in recommendation I2R M2160. I2R Working Party 5D is now working on defining the requirements and evaluation criteria for the radio interface technologies for IMT 2030 in order to ensure that 6G meets the needs of users worldwide. This recommendation also contains the so-called wheel diagram with the 6 key usage scenarios and the palette diagram identifying 15 capabilities for 6G. And you will be provided with more details from my distinguished Working Party 5D chair later in this event. Next slide, please. And one more, please. In addition to the terrestrial interface, the ITU work is also dealing with non-terrestrial networks and direct-to-device communication, which are key enablers for the IMT 2030 vision of connectivity everywhere via satellite. By complementing terrestrial IMT systems, they help extend coverage to remote and underserved areas, ensuring resilient, inclusive, and truly global connectivity. What we see here in the yellow box is a quote from I2R M2160, the framework for IMT 2030. Hence, the standards for the radio interface of the satellite component of IMT 2020 is already a significant milestone on that route. We have concluded the evaluation of candidate radio interface technologies, and we are now finalizing the detailed specification for the satellite component of IMT 2020 and are conducting studies of the future development of the satellite component of IMT 2030. By the way, as you probably know, just 2 days ago, I2R Working Party 4B in Shanghai finalized the recommendation identifying the specification for the satellite component, which will be submitted in November 2025 to the ITU member states for approval. On the next slide, we will see a small timeline. This is the one for IMT 2020, which I just said has been adopted, approved within Working Party 4B and will be sent to Study Group 4 in November. When we click, you will see the box where we see the expected timeline for IMT 2030, a roadmap for developing, again, evaluation criteria method and submission templates as the key building blocks to enable the integrated NTN service provisioning is also under consideration for IMT 2030. The chart though here is taken from 6G NTN. It's worth to have a look there. 2 slides, please. Next. Joining the efforts. All the topics we have just covered are now being actively discussed and developed within the I2R study groups and working parties. This work is ongoing, and we encourage more experts to join the effort and contribute to these important discussions. I2R study groups drive the compatibility and the spectrum sharing studies, which are crucial for the global harmonization and responding to WRC 27 agenda items and I2R questions and resolutions. The outcome includes influential reports, recommendations, and handbooks shaping the future of the global connectivity and technology standards. On the next slide, I will briefly go through the agenda items which are of relevance for IMT. By the way, as you can see, 80% of the agenda items are satellite or space related. This could be also considered as an indication for the priority currently of the ITUR membership. The first agenda item on the next slide I would like to introduce to you is agenda item 1.7. Next slide, please. For example, the identification of new frequency bands for the terrestrial component of IMT, which is a key agenda item. We will perform sharing and compatibility studies, which will help determine how these bands can be used effectively while minimizing interference. Again, I'm very confident that our Working Party 5D chair, Hiroyuki Atarashi, will elaborate in more detail in his intervention tomorrow on this agenda item. Let's look to the next slide. Here we have agenda item 1.12, which is relevant for the development of the Internet of Things. It particularly refers to the low data rate non-geostationary mobile satellite systems that can operate with periodic or intermediate data transmission and maintain a service while experiencing packet loss. On the next slide, we will see a very prominent agenda item, the direct connectivity, space stations, and IMT. The direct connectivity between space station and IMT user equipment is another major topic for WRC 27, and we are conducting studies on the possible new allocation to the mobile satellite services, including the technical and operational characteristics needed for the direct communication with existing IMT user equipment, as well as assessment of potential interference when using the same frequency bands between 694 MHz to 2.7 GHz, which are currently used by the terrestrial IMT systems. Last but not least, on the next slide, I mentioned briefly agenda item 1.14, additional allocations for the future mobile satellite services. We are considering additional spectrum that are identified worldwide for the mobile communication. These allocations will support the growth of satellite communication and enhance the overall capabilities of mobile communication systems, including IMT. What is next? On the slide, next slide. We've introduced here is still under development within ITUR, our study groups and the working parties. And with that, I would like to invite you all to join the ITU, if you're not already done so, in our mission to shape the future of ICT, because only together we can drive innovation, promote global connectivity, and ensure that ICT benefits for all humanity. On the next slide, I would like to thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to our collaboration and the progress we will make together. And I would be available throughout this session for any question which may arise. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Mr. Lowenstein, for the enlightening presentation. And I would like to thank you once again for the presentations given by our honorable speakers today. So it is now to commence the discussion section for the first day summits. I will now pass the stage to Mr. Bruce McFarlane, CEO of Forum Global, who will guide us through the discussion sections today. Mr. McFarlane, please.
Thank you, Petrina. A very good morning to everyone, both those joining us here in person in Hong Kong and all of you participating virtually from around the world. My name is Bruce McFarlane. I'm CEO of Forum Global. It's a real pleasure to add my warm welcome to that of Petrina's and our distinguished opening speakers. We're delighted to have you with us at the Hopewell Hotel for the 6G Global Summit 2025. We've held previous editions of this summit in the Middle East and in Europe, and we're really excited to bring this event to Asia for the very first time. And I can think of no better place to do so than in Hong Kong. It's a city that has firmly established itself as a leader in 6G innovation, both regionally and globally. And with world-class research institutions, a forward-thinking regulatory approach, and a thriving tech ecosystem, Hong Kong is truly at the forefront of what's next in connectivity. It's a real privilege to be here. And I'd like to begin by offering our sincere thanks to our hosts, the Communications Authority of Hong Kong, whose generous support and partnership have made this event possible. Bringing this summit to Hong Kong has been nearly a year in the making, and the dedication, the professionalism, and the collaboration shown by the Communications Authority team over the last 12 months has been really exceptional. I know I speak for all of us in expressing our heartfelt gratitude, not only for all of that hard work, but also for the very warm welcome that we have received. On a personal note, I've lived and worked in Hong Kong in the past for a number of years, and I can say from experience what a dynamic, forward-thinking and inspiring city this is. It is a real pleasure to be back here. In addition to OFCA, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors and our partners for their generous support, and their logos will be displayed on the screens later. I want to take a moment to thank those sponsors and those partners, because again, without their involvement, these events simply don't happen. Just a moment now for the benefit of those joining us online, if I can just take a moment to guide you through the virtual event platform and how you can participate fully over the next 2 days. This hybrid platform enables you to follow all the sessions and to hear from speakers both here in Hong Kong and those participating remotely. And we want you online to be as engaged as those who are joining us here in person. So with that in mind, there's a space on the right-hand side of your screens where you can submit questions to our panelists and speakers, and I do encourage you to do this. These will then be passed to our moderators and brought into the debates that will be taking place as part of each of our panel discussions. Those of you that are joining us here in person, you can also view all these videos via the event platform, and you should have received an email from our team with your access link. If you've not received this or have any other questions at all, please do not hesitate to speak to me or any of my colleagues here today. To access the platform, you'll need to be online, of course, and I'm happy to confirm that the Wi-Fi is available throughout the venue, and the network password, name and password are displayed on the screen behind me. There we are. Just a little bit more on conference proceedings. PDFs of all the slides shown by speakers today and tomorrow will be available to download. For those in person, you can access these by scanning the QR code on your badges. And for those who are joining us virtually, you'll find the link in the reception area of the platform. All the sessions are also being recorded, and links to access these will be sent to you after the event. Before I wrap up, I'd like to briefly mention there's a network reception taking place this evening. It's right after the conclusion of today's sessions, and it's kindly hosted by the Communications Association of Hong Kong. And the reception will be held in the Pearl Pavilion on the 21st floor of this hotel. I'll share more details with you later on, but I sincerely hope that you will all be able to join us in what promises to be a great opportunity to connect and, of course, to continue the conversations over cocktails and canapes. That just about concludes my introduction. We've got a very full program ahead over the next 2 days. So without further ado, I'd like to, in fact, I'd be delighted to introduce and welcome to the stage our Summit Rapporteur, Dr. Jolly Wong. He's the Honorary Advisor to the Communications Association of Hong Kong. Jolly has played a key role in helping to bring this event to life here in Hong Kong, and we're really grateful for everything he has done to support the summit. Jolly, it's fantastic to have you with us today. I know you'll help set the scene by outlining some of the key themes and topics, as well as introducing the first panel. So, Jolly, I can ask you up to stage. It's over to you. Thank you.
So very good morning. Director Leung, Bruce, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome again to the 6G Global Summit 2025. Last year, over a coffee catch-up in London with Dr. Mike Short, an industry leader whom many of us know, Mike asked me a question that started our story here. He said, Jolly, why don't you join the 6G Global Summit to happen next week here in London? I accepted his invitation, and later, at the 6G Global Summit 2024, I was invited to join a panel debating the sustainability of 6G. What really stunned me wasn't just the rich content, but the broad participations of government, regulators, engineers, CEOs, and startups. Everyone was there shaping the future of connectivity. That prompted me to think, 6G is a global vision. So why should this global event not come to the Asia-Pacific region? It has never been in Asia, and Hong Kong seems the obvious place. That evening, I messaged Mr. Chancellor Leung, the Director General of Communications of CARE, and he said, why not? Now, thanks to Chancellor Street's decision to host the event and months of planning work and arrangements with Forum Global and many supporters, including the Communications Associations Hong Kong, Hong Kong Tourism Board, here we are in Hong Kong. Just allow me to repeat. We are now in a city whereby mobile penetrations exceeds 300%. Hong Kong is a higher dense city which networks are stress tested every day. 5G is our way of life. East and West collaborations thrives. Hong Kong is a neutral ground where global standards can be forged with pragmatism, not politics. Hong Kong is an international innovation hub. We built the bridge between the famous Shenzhen hardware innovation and Silicon Valley's software genius. Here at the summit, we have attracted over 600 delegates in person and online. In the next 2 days, you, top-level industry and policy representatives from all around the world, will explore the path to 2013 and the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. What an opportunity it is to join the key global leaders and be part of shaping a better future with 6G. At various conferences around the journey to 6G, we have distilled key principles, themes, and understandings about the standardization process. These now need to be prioritized and drawn up for implementation. The key themes this year will be spread over 2 days. 2 days, the morning sections will soon kick off with the discussions on the emerging 6G vision, standardization, timeline, and process. After lunch, we will have a fireside chat about Asian Pacific role in shaping the 6G future. This will be followed by a debate between 6G revolution and 6G evolution. After the coffee break, another panel will examine how 6G can redefine networks with integrative sensing, communications, and computing. We will close by a keynote speech by Mr. Jenkinson, the chairman of Communications Authority, and then we will proceed to the networking reception hosted by the Communications Association Hong Kong. So ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you the agenda isn't just technical, it's transformational. Each and every session is designed to move up from vision to action. Before we start, just let me put a challenge to this room. How can we jointly turn why not into action? To the policymakers, our challenge may be ask not just 6G can do, but who should it serve? To the engineers and scientists, our challenge might be how can we not only innovate, but also anchor your ideas in sustainability, security, and reliability? To all of us, let's collaborate like never before. My little Hong Kong story is built on why not moments. Today, let's write a new chapter that makes the why not a reality. What if this summit becomes the moment we agree to prioritize green networks over raw speed data? What if Hong Kong's density inspires 6G blueprints for megacities worldwide? And what if we live here not just to wake promises, but with joined up commitments to pilot projects, standards, and policies? In closing, I sincerely hope that every debate, every breakthrough, every disagreement about 6G is captured, not just in another report, but in a shared roadmap. Let's make these 2 days count. I truly believe the future of connectivity isn't just about faster data speed. It's about better societies. Let's build them together. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Now, without further ado, I would very much like to invite to kick off the morning sections with the session one, and would like to invite the panelists for the session one to join me to come on board. This distinguished gentleman, Mr. Philip Malik, the General Director from Bahrain. We have another panelist online, Dr. Alexander Sotisit, who is the permanent representation of Poland and the chair of the Working Party on Telecommunications and Information Society. He is also the chair of the Radio Spectrum Policy Group. Welcome, Dr. Alexander. We have Mr. Jose Arias, the head of Global Policy and Regulatory Affairs from Nokia. The next panelist is Mr. Pan Zhao, the Vice President, Policy and Regulatory Global Satellite Operators Association. Last but not least, Dr. Metasenka Leonarich. He is the fellow from the University College Dublin, Ireland, and also the expert consultant from ENISA. Welcome. So it is my great pleasure to kickstart these morning sessions. As this is the very first one, then I feel obliged that as my role as the rapporteur to set the scene. Yesterday evening, Maverick asked me what's my view on 6G. I say, hold on. I'm going to listen to your views of 6G, and everyone would like to hear your views, not my views about 6G. But I feel obliged to share how I see the 6G in moving. Because in telecommunications, we all know that there are clear differences between generations, such as spectrum, converged or combinational technologies, capacity needs, new services. No one really wants to stand in the way of new ideas or research. But the journey to 6G may not be a generational change when you consider various factors, such as cost, resilience, market, and social requirements. This implies a more flexible approach may need to take into account geographic market differences, whilst holding on to the wider global benefits of one single standard and economies of scale. Global supply chain may change, and geopolitics may affect this, but right now we see a lack of new demand for network infrastructure internationally to warrant radical change. Perhaps the bigger question is how much room there is to improve the radical change to what we already foreseen within the 5G standalone or the 5G advanced technologies. Not yet widely deployed, but already standardized. So I hope this session will give you a holistic view of current state of 6G development and provide a platform for exploring its transformational potential. So let's begin. I would invite each and every panelist to have a 5-minute opening to share what are the key issues he would consider as the most important in the journey of 6G. And then I would start firing up some questions. And I appreciate it if the audience, you have any question to pass on to me. And also those online can also pass on to me your questions and ideas. Okay, without further ado, I would very much like to invite Philip. You do the first 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Jolly. And thank you very much indeed to the organisers for inviting us here and putting on such a wonderful event. 5G, which we have today, as you saw in Hong Kong, is 300% penetration and just over 99%. I live in a market that will give a run for its money Our coverage for all three of our operators is 100%, including sea. And as I was telling a colleague before, as I went out to look at the dolphins, of course I had 5G. In the world in which we are now moving to, connectivity needs to be everywhere. And not just everywhere, reliable. In my very early career, I had a boss who, whenever he got a telephone call which went via satellite, he hung up and tried again for the cable connection, because the latency of the satellite system was such that it didn't make his phone call that good to the States. We live in a world today where we've moved through the generations. What was really fast before is no longer fast. If you're on 3G and not 4G, actually you can't really do a lot of the things that you want to be able to do and expect to be able to do on mobile, even though 3G was really fast in its day. And so for me, we will continue to get faster and faster, lower latency, although latency is a relation of where you're looking to go, as opposed to just the air interface, and do this sort of stuff. But in our digital world, we also need to make sure that connectivity is everywhere. In a lot of the vision we've seen today, terrestrial networks will serve where terrestrial networks can serve. They'll serve on the land. They'll serve over the bits of the sea which are close by. We travel by high-speed train. We travel by aircraft. We travel by ship. We walk in the middle of deserts. We go out. So in the future, satellite must form part of what we see as the connectivity mix to enable an individual user to go through the world using digital technology wherever he happens to be, so that we are constantly and always online. And so for me, in the sort of world of satellite, we split it into two ways. One is the backhaul capacity that you need to connect cell sites, or you need to connect to aircraft or boats, and the connectivity that people need to connect to mobile devices as they merrily go along and walk around and do it. And we need to make sure we differentiate and understand the differences between these things. But we also need to look at some of the challenges we faced as we've got from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. Some of the challenges we face today are people who will merrily tell you that mobile growth is not very good, high at the moment. It's a small percentage. But it's a small percentage on a very large number, which by itself means a large amount of capacity. So all the people who keep telling us we're at the end of telecoms and going forward, I think sometimes they don't quite understand numbers, because actually the growth rate of data is still continuing in large volume. It's just the percentage growth rate is actually getting smaller as the number gets bigger. And we will, of course, in the future, need more capacity. Operators have struggled to pay for the upgrades from 4G to 5G. And I think as we look to the future of the new technology, we need to make sure that in the 6G world, the evolution from 5G to 6G is done cost effectively. For this, for me, it means recognizing mobile devices are getting more expensive. The time to upgrade is getting longer. We therefore need to make sure that the technology, when you deploy the new base station, can support 4G and 5G and 6G in the same bit of spectrum, and therefore, depending who turns up, you can use the appropriate protocol that's best optimized for your device you've got. Technology, we're doing it. We also need to be sustainable, in making sure that actually the costs we incur of running the network are low. This is building this in by design. The other thing we need to do, I think, one thing today is be able to switch off the radio capacity and some of the spectrum layers in places, have the pilots there that they can bring back automatically. So for me, a vision of a world where connectivity is everywhere, nobody is disconnected from the digital world, and nobody is left behind. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Philip. Maybe I should ask you what about the AI next, following up. But before I hold on that questions. Perhaps let's move on to our second panelist online. Alexander, can I just pass on to you? And welcome on board.
Yes, of course. Thank you, and hopefully you can hear me. Thank you for inviting me, although I'm not able to be in person in Hong Kong. So next slide, please. I will give you a bit of a background of the current regulatory policy and frameworks in the European Union. And first word perhaps on the radio spectrum policy group, which I'm right now representing. So this is the high-level expert group gathering representatives from NRA's ministries that supports the European Commission in spectrum-related matters and policies. Radio Spectrum Policy Program, so is together with us since 2012, and it establishes a radio spectrum policy across the EU to assist in strategic planning in the use of spectrum for all EU policies relating to the internal market. Chronologically, we have received 5G action plan, and the plan was that the Commission will work with the member states to identify by the end of 2016 a provisional list of pioneer spectrum bands for the initial launch of 5G services, taking due account of the RSPG opinion that was in the preparation. And we did it, in our opinion, on the strategic roadmap towards 5G for Europe. In this opinion, we indicated 3 bands. So it was 3.4, 3.8 gigahertz to be the primary band, the 700 megahertz band to enable nationwide and indoor 5G coverage, and 26 gigahertz as the pioneer band. Then we also have the Digital Decade Policy Program. One of the key goals is to have secure, resilient, and sustainable digital infrastructures where all end users at fixed locations are covered by the gigabit network, and all populated areas are covered by the next generation networks. Next slide, please. I will very briefly go through, at least with some agenda or work items that we have already in the pipeline in the RSPG work program. This is the set of the work items that we have until the end of this year. So next slide, please. I will start with the WRC, which is, I guess, one of the most important one right now. So in the first phase, the subgroup on the WRC was tasked to prepare the report on the outcome of the WRC. In the second phase, the subgroup will prepare the interim opinion on WRC, which is scheduled for this June 2025. The opinion will be much broader and will include, based on the agenda items on WRC 27, all the issues, all the topics that could be in particular interest of the EU. On the last note, on the basis of the RSPG opinion, the Council of the European Union is adopting its position for the WRC. This was the case for WRC 19 and WRC 23. Next slide, please. Then again, one of the also very important topic is upper 6 gigahertz band. So the outcome of the WRC 23 is clear. Therefore, this work item should build a long-term vision for the upper 6 gigahertz band by providing policy recommendations on how to best organize the future of this band in Europe. The task is not easy, and we had to adjust the timing. So the first draft for the public consultation is scheduled for June, while the final opinion should be in place around November. Next slide, please. And 6G strategic vision. In the report that was adopted in our previous plenary, I mean in February this year, we indicated that the EU needs to point out in which spectrum bands the first launches of 6G are planned or should be done. Therefore, the RSPG will soon be on its way to develop a 6G spectrum roadmap further to the publication of this report in order to identify which spectrum, which frequency bands should be made available for launch of 6G mass market, but also to support the development of various vertical markets. So we also took a good note, and in the report that was adopted in February, I mean the 6G strategic vision, we have a lot of topics like 5G development lessons learned, early policy initiatives on 6G, drivers and enablers for 6G, spectrum sharing solutions, which is a very important topic for us as well, and the strategic role of NTN in 6G. Next slide, please. And the strategic spectrum matters. This is a very broad work item which allow us to respond to any possible papers and propositions put on the table by the Commission in spectrum-related issues. Thanks to this work item, the RSPG have a chance to react to and to support the Commission. In that context, we delivered our opinion as the input to the public consultations for the white paper delivered by the Commission, how to master Europe's digital infrastructure needs. And right now, this subgroup is preparing the opinion on D2D, which will went through the public consultations, and in June, during the next plenary, it will be adopted. Next slide, please. And as Jolie already said, since I'm the chair of the RSPG for the moment until the end of this year, I'm also right now the chair of the Working Party for Telecommunications and Information Society in the Council of the European Union. So I will present you just two slides on the our initiatives taken by the Polish presidency in the Council, and the Working Party, and for the Council of Telecommunication and Transport and Energy. So next slide, please. So here is the very general overview. Our motto is to security Europe, and we have 5 security dimensions here. But the most important topic related to the topic of this summit is our council conclusions. So the next slide, please. So yes, we wanted, since we didn't have any regulations on the table for the moment, we decided to prepare the council conclusions on reliable and resilient connectivity. We took a good note of Commission's white paper already mentioned, and the previous council conclusions from the Hungarian and Belgian presidencies. And also we took in consideration, also already mentioned by you, Jolie, as well, geopolitical situation and some natural disasters that have taken place across Poland, for example, and as well across Spain. Next slide, please. So I've picked up some points from the council conclusions. So as you can see, we are focusing on 6G as well. We are recognizing the complementary role of satellite communications. So the reasons standing behind the council conclusions are, for the most important reason is, of course, the geopolitical situation. So therefore, and the technological development in this regard. So the convergence of the terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks plays a pivotal role in this considerations. And of course, a very important topic for the European Union is the security, of course, of these submarine cables. So these are, 6G, AI, satellite communications and submarine cables are very important items here in the Council conclusions, and we are right now ready for the adoption by the Council in June. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. I think that we have a very, thank you. We have a very logical progressions from what Phillips mentioned, connectivity everywhere. And then Alexander add on as connectivity on with reliability and resilience. We all heard about how the total blackout of power in Spain. So we understand how reliable it is, resilience and reliability as well. Now, moving on to Jose, I would very much like you to share the views from Nokia.
Well, I'm here. Okay, thank you. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I'm Jose Arias. I work for Nokia, and today I'm representing the GSA. I'm the substitute of my colleague Luigi Ardito, who is our chair of the GSA Global Spectrum Group, who couldn't be here for different reasons, so I'm going to represent the association here. So for those who don't already know what the GSA is the industry voice of the global mobile ecosystem. GSA stands for the Global Mobile Supplier Association, and we have been representing the global mobile ecosystem since 1998. We are made of 9 major industry executives from the mobile industry, and we have a number of focus working groups and forums, including the GSAI Spectrum Group, and also the Fixed Wireless Access Group and the Private Networks Group, among others. So we have almost 90 associates subscribing to our GSA data, the GAMBOD, which is a database in where you can find a lot of information related to the mobile industry. We have 2 different kinds of subscriptions, the free one and the other one who has more as a paywall for different kind of information related to the mobile industry. So I'm just checking that this is working. Okay, it is working. Okay, I think it is not working. Okay. We have more than 160 annual industry reports, as you can see in this slide, and we provide extensive research and statistics in a number of 3GPP related matters. So, in this slide, you can see that, as it was mentioned, different generations of mobile networks has been enriched the user experience through the first generation in 1984 to what we are expecting for 6G, which is the substance matter of this conference in 2030. And there are a lot of different activities across the globe regarding to the global 6G research framework and strategy. With the time, we have been past the research strategy to the standardization phase. And for instance, and just to mention some of the initiatives you can see in this slide, we have the NextG Alliance in the US. We have also the EXA-X in the European Union, or the Bharat 6G Alliance in India, but some intense activity also in the UK, Japan, China, and Korea. So from the GSA standpoint of view, we are working very closely to different international organizations such as ITU. And this slide, you can see what ITU work is being expected to provide to the industry and also to the governments, regulatory bodies, and also government stakeholders. And our colleague from the ITU has reported about this intensive work. But just to mention some of the world that is related to 6G. And the next meeting will be in the 49 meeting in Kobe, Japan, from the 5D meeting. It is expected also that the ITU 5D will release a recommendation on IMT 2030 specifications, hopefully at the end of 2029 or the beginning of 2030 timeframe. And also we have heard about also the recommendation M2160, which is about the IMT 2030, the ITU term for 6G that relies on the 6G framework. So why we need new bands for 6G? So I'm going to address 6 quickly concepts regarding why we think as GSA we need more frequency bands or new frequency bands for 6G. So the first one is about continuity. So existing bands are still needed to provide connectivity and capacity for serving the demands of previous generations, as it has been mentioned today. The second point is about smoothness. 6G pioneer bands would facilitate deployments, as regulator and industry will know which bands to focus their research, standardization, and investment on. This is a key point for everybody in the industry. It is about certainty. So this is actually the next point, certainty. Harmonized 6G pioneer bands would provide necessary regulatory certainty for industry to create a broad 6G ecosystem. The next point is unified 6G ecosystem. New bands will help in creating unified 6G ecosystem that would bring economies of scale and affordability, another important point. The next 2 points are harmonization, which is really important in terms of the spectrum. New pioneer bands would also prevent fragmentations because regulators and operators will need to refarm their existing IMT bands used for the previous generation, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, even 5G, so which would differ by region, country by country, and would have different kind of situations leading to a spectrum fragmentation. And the last point is new entrants, as you can see here, enabling possibilities for new 6G entrants for different markets. And then finally, I will address this slide. From the GSA perspective, there will be a need of 500 to 750 megahertz of additional spectrum for wide area that will be needed per network. This is important, and I will finalize with this my intervention. We have sent different contributions to the different regional spectrum groups. For instance, it is for the APT, for the CEPT, and for the CTL region, we sent a contribution in where we elaborate more about how we as GSA believe that we will need from 500 to 750 megahertz of additional spectrum for 6G. So I will conclude my presentation here and happy to be part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Now I've been very watchful about time, so perhaps we need some 6G speed. Pan, can I invite you to make your opening remarks, please?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Oscar for this kindly hosting us in Hong Kong for this 6G Summit, but also big thanks to Forum Global for the invitation for GSOA to come present on this important topic. Just a quick word about GSOA. We are the Global Satellite Operator Association. We include, our members include both GSO operators, but also MEO and low Earth orbit operators as well, but also many manufacturers and launch providers as well. So we try to present the whole overall kind of global satellite ecosystem and its voice to this on different matters. But I think this time the inclusion of satellites in this discussion was fairly well recognized because all the opening speakers has mentioned satellites in this role within 6G, and I think it's really the first time I've been participating in this event for many years, but it's really the first time that we have such kind of emphasis on the role of satellite communication. From our perspective, I think we believe that by 2030, we've seen reported that more than 500 million people will be dependent on satellite communication. That is twice more than today. And I think the whole overall kind of socioeconomic benefits will exceed 250 billion. And this is really, I think, show the prominence of satellite communication. And also from previous speakers, you see that in terms of spectrum and the WRC, many kind of agenda items for WRC 27 are really focused on satellites. So overall, where do we stand, and especially when we look at 6G and when we look back at what happened in 4G and 5G time? So NTN, so non-terrestrial network, so including satellite networks, has always in the 4G era or previously have always developed in parallel than terrestrial networks. So it's at the time of 5G, it was a bit more kind of integrated design, but still kind of interworking rather than unifiedly defined and designed. And we believe that it's really critical for 6G to have this critical kind of combination of terrestrial satellite network and the other airborne networks to enable the kind of the 6G vision, which is really the ubiquitous kind of connectivity and providing the connectivity to all in every places, including in maritime, in airplanes, and also in any places that is not connected today via the terrestrial networks. But also, one critical aspect as well is all the disaster relief. So in the case where the terrestrial network fails because of a natural disaster or man-made disaster, I think the non-terrestrial network become a really easy deployable kind of a technology to provide the alternative and provide the thing. So we looked at all the kind of different use cases in 6G, and especially more focusedly on the NTN, so non-terrestrial network and satellites. There are many of those kind of use cases that is really critical to be enabled by 6G. And for example, the direct connectivity to smartphone, of course, has been mentioned several times already. But the high-speed broadband connectivity to transport, trains, aircraft, vessels, etc., that has been also mentioned. But it also enables things like massive communications. So typically IoT through satellites that enable applications such as kind of a collection of data on agriculture and on utilities, and also important kind of environmental monitoring. Then also the kind of the ubiquitous connectivity, as I mentioned earlier, either through backhaul, as Philippe mentioned earlier, but also through the direct-to-device connectivity. So I think the ITU Council reported that 4B concluded a couple of days ago. They approved important specification for the IMT 2020, but this is another important achievement as well in the last 4B that happened 2 days ago, which is the approval of the timeline for the satellite component of the IMT 2030. So you've seen on this particular graph is that what you've seen the lower part of it already, which is the terrestrial component, but the upper part is the satellite component of the IMT 2030. And this approved timeline really ensure that the satellite component and terrestrial component are in sync and keeping pace. And also it enables the satellite component kind of specification to be ready before WRC 31. So which is really critical for the ecosystem to develop at the same time. So just to conclude, I think there are many kind of things that need to be done still for 6G and especially for the satellite component. But the current 3GPP standards, already include several bands. So S-band, L-band in the release 17, Ka-band is 18, and Ku-band. So all like any wireless communication system. Satellite communication really rely on those kind of spectrum, and also on the kind of the stability and certainty of the and availability of those spectrum. And so to ensure the kind of the integration of the satellite component of 6G, we really need to be part of the design from the onset. And we would like to prioritize the NTN in the kind of the future release of 3GPP for the 6G at maximum effort towards a unified terrestrial network and non-terrestrial network ecosystem. With this, I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So last but not least, Mac, can I invite you to make your opening remark?
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Madhusankar Liragi. I'm Associate Professor at University College Dublin, Ireland. So I'm going to talk about one of the important aspects of 6G network, which is security. So when you're moving forward from 5G to yeah, so anyway, so when you're moving forward with the from 5G to 6G, so one of the there are like many technologies we are going to use in the 6G network. So, but one technology stand out of all of them is the AI technology. So the main idea of like in 6G, like we are trying to integrate AI into every aspect of the mobile network, so we can have a network AI concept. But the integration of AI with 6G have a lot of impact on the security. So we can actually discuss the impact of the security of AI in two different scenarios. So the first scenario is like we can use AI in order to improve the security of the 6G network, especially when we have like a lot of devices to connect. The security automation will be needed, and also the security management and the orchestration, like how you can dynamically deploy the security services. In this aspect, actually, AI can be helpful. On the other hand, AI itself has certain security issues which are new to 6G network, which are not part of the mobile network anymore. So addressing this AI-related security issue, a new security challenge that we need to be addressed in the 6G domain. And then it's about like how we are going to deploy the AI in the 6G network. So since we know it's a mobile network, it's a distributed network, so that means we are going to deploy AI in the different segment of the network. So we have to move toward like the distributed AI architecture, especially the edge computing features we already achieved in 5G network can be coupled with AI, so we can have like edge intelligence or edge AI concept in the 6G. So this edge AI concept will also have a security benefits, like we can disseminate the AI knowledge into multiple sectors, so we can eliminate the single point of failure, and also we can localize some of the security issues already at the local vicinity, and the privacy can be protected, so the data will be protected, processed at the local vicinity. So there are a lot of benefits we can achieve with this edge intelligence scenario as well. And also like the main benefit, I would say, like the AI integration in the 6G is like the security automation. So we know since the development of the 5G and beyond, so we try to go for the zero trust service management, and we want to automate most of the function which are happening in the mobile network. So we can adapt this concept into the 6G security as well. So when we are enabling the end-to-end security, we have to go towards the zero trust security integration. In this aspect, actually, AI is playing a bigger role, especially AI-driven predictive cybersecurity algorithms can be utilized. As I mentioned, the security service orchestration, the resource allocation for security services can be done with the support of the AI system. And also like when you are talking about the IoT systems, like since 5G, we are trying to connect a lot of IoT devices. So these IoT devices are usually untrusted devices, not like the mobile devices we have today. So then we have to go for another security architecture, like how we are going to interconnect these IoT devices. So we are trying to adapt this zero-touch architecture. That means before accepting the communication, we have to verify first. So that in that kind of scenario, actually, we need to have a constant verification, faster verification, and authentication. In these functions can be enabled with the support of AI. Actually, the AI can support for both zero-touch and the zero-trust integration. And another aspect, the negative aspect of AI is like we need to consider, like when you are integrating the AI, so we have to make sure they are like a responsible AI deployment. You know, since a couple of months ago, like European Union published this EU AI Act. So that's actually defined like how we can use the AI within different systems, especially a critical infrastructure like mobile network. So we need to have a reliable AI systems deployed, which are not vulnerable to attack, which are comply with the certain policies defined in the maybe privacy policies, maybe telecommunication policies. So we have to make sure AI systems or AI security solution or whatever has to be comply with this solution. So that we have to analyze like how the AI system can be working. So example like explainable AI solution is a nice way, like we can verify how the AI systems are working. So explainable AI itself has a lot of benefits, like as I mentioned, it can justify how the AI system is comply with the policies. On the other hand, explainable AI can be used to improve the security, especially to generalize the security solution for unknown attacks. And also we need, when we are deploying the security, we have to think about like the sustainability and also the long-term security, like because we are talking about network which we are going to deploy in 5 years time and which are going to run for another 10 years. So we need to have to think about the sustainability and also the long-term security. In terms of sustainability, we have to think about the energy efficient security and privacy. That's an important aspect. So align with the UN goals to have a sustainability. And also when we talk about the long-term security, so we have to think about the quantum safe security mechanism, like quantum computing is going to be play an important role in coming years. So we have to make sure the 6G networks are protected against this quantum network. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mac. Well, that's quite in alignment of what I can bring forward last year from London. I remember when we asked about every speaker's panelist in London last year, just name 3 things that you will bet as most important, that they will all bet: AI, 6G, and quantum. These are the 3 things. Now, starting in Hong Kong, I'm still here, these 3 things: AI, 6G, and quantum. I'm being very watchful about time. So before I open it and look at questions from the floor and online, perhaps I take the privilege to ask each and every panelist to give me one short answer. Are there any key differences between 6G and previous generations in your mind, such as spectrum, capacity needs, new services? And if you say yes, then I would like to know, what would you think as the long-term strategic vision for the 6G it will deliver? So Phillips, can I just start with you?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Of course there's going to be. If there's no difference between 5G and 6G, why would anybody invest? So it's very simple. And then how can we all claim to be first? I think personally in spectrum, actually I think this is some area where we should change, and I totally disagree with the European Union. I was the leader of the RSPG at the time we set the pioneer bands. And I think that was necessary at that time because you needed to develop a new technology in a new bit of spectrum. I think what we've seen from the move from 4G to 5G is that actually you can have in the same bit of spectrum, the technology to enable you to use both 4G devices and 5G devices. I think by the time we get to 6G, we should have made that better. So therefore, you shouldn't need new spectrum for 6G. That's not to say you don't need new growth spectrum for mobile, because of course you will. But I think we need to move away from the concept of a band for a particular technology and enable the new mobile technology to come along and use the spectrum assets the mobile operators have and to be able to optimize it. And I think that's increasingly important given the cost and the complexity of devices, because the uptake of the new technologies will be able to be managed more effectively. I think the other big challenge is AI. AI is now growing rapidly. You can see model after model being developed, technology after technology being evolved. It requires vast quantities of data center capacity to enable it to be distributed. Of course, it will be used in 6G. It will be used in 6G for doing some of the things that we, the humans, have been doing for a while of how do you optimize networks? How do you make the network do it? So you'll be building inside. You'll be using it for tools. You'll be using it as a way of which users and consumers and businesses can use the network to get access to their 6G technologies they want to use, the AI technologies they want to use. The other one I look forward to, which I've seen now for an awful long time, is holograms. It's been in almost every generation of mobile for a long time. Even if you look at 3Gs, people were talking about holograms. I'm looking forward to actually seeing a classical concert where it can appear on that table. I can listen to the immersive music and I can watch the performers doing it, not on a TV, but the entire orchestra sitting there. So if the GSA can, for me, deliver holograms in 6G, I look forward to seeing it working and actually making sure it can actually happen. Thank you.
Wow, this is not just a simple yes. I'm also a big fan of Star Wars, so I like the holograms. And as a moderator, I like different views. So, Alexander, what's the view from the European?
Yes, I think, Philip pointed well this. Well, first of all, I guess the short and simple answer is yes, of course. Nevertheless, 6G is currently in the pre-standardization phase, but inevitably it will, like other wireless technologies, need a huge chunk of spectrum as well. But perhaps this time, but not revealing anything yet, because right now we are undergoing the rating procedure for the adoption of the work item on 6G. So without revealing anything, I think we would go in the way that Philip already mentioned. But the most important thing, I guess, that we pointed in our report on the strategic vision, as well as we are indicating in the Council conclusions as the Council, is that the 6G envisage some new usage scenarios arising from the capabilities such as, for instance, AI and sensing, which previous generations were not designed to. So this would be my take, and as well what already GSOA presented. So the network convergence of the terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks. So yes, coming back to your question, yes, this is the clear difference will be.
Thank you, Alexander. Now, I think Jose, what's the GSA view?
Thank you. Well, from the GSA standpoint of view, we see three different use cases, let's say. So to respond to your question, the response is yes. And these three different cases we have said it is immersive XR. The second one is mobile hologram. And the third one is communication and sensing. These three different applications or such use cases will be used through the wide area spectrum that we believe it is needed for the future. So in this regard, with these three different applications in the ITU framework, in the ITU work, The next WRC will address 3 different frequency bands with different conditions through the different 3 regions in the ITU. In order to be able to provide this kind of application or use cases, we will need more spectrum. So the GSA believes that, for instance, in the 4.4 to 4.8 gigahertz band, we support the IMT identification. Then the second frequency band, it is the 7.125 to 8.4. So again, the GSA support the IMT identification. And the final frequency band is 14.8 to 1535. The GSA also support the identification of IMT, but with a note that identifying and stating that this frequency band will not alleviate the need for spectrum in lower bands, which is the 4.4 and actually the 7 to 8.4. This is worth mentioning because in order to evolve to the next generation in 6G and to provide the use cases I mentioned, and I will say it again, immersive XR, mobile hologram, and communication and sensing, we will need more spectrum to be able to provide it. So this is the GSA view.
Thank you, Jose. I quite like the simple yes with the elaboration of the 3 use cases. I will come to you, Mac, but Peng, what about the GSOA views on the differences of 6G and others?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. But first of all, it's definitely a yes. The 6G will be different than previous generation. But from our perspective, I think it's really the evolution of the technology this time will include the NTN and also address the issue of ubiquity and inclusiveness. In the sense that, this time is not only about speed, it's not only about providing higher speeds to people who already have access to high-speed data rates, but it's really to bring people who never been connected to those to a kind of a high-speed, high broadband kind of connectivity. In a sense, if you imagine, for example, use cases, even in a place like Hong Kong or in Japan, where the 5G is everywhere, you still have use cases where, for example, a fisherman or for someone living on a boat or have, often be away from the coast of even from the side of the coast for like 2 or 3 days, and they will have the direct connectivity. And I've seen already start seeing this kind of integrated smartphone, for example, and I see that live demo where you can make phone calls directly with any kind of the phone that you have in your pocket today also as well. So it is something that we as from the satellite community, we really believe that it will be a game changer, and especially for the people who don't have access to 4G and 5G today, but don't have access to any of the kind of type of communication. So yeah, it will be a game changer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. But I'm not sure how many fishermen do we still have in Hong Kong. But let's move on, Mac.
Yeah, I think my answer is also yes. So definitely we are going to have integration of new technology in the 6G network, but I don't expect like a lot of new technologies we have seen in 5G network, like for example, like SDN, NFV, cloud computing, or network slicing. Like there are major development happen when you are moving from 4G to 5G, but when you are moving from 5G to 6G, we can still use these technologies to provide the services which we are expecting, because I don't think like we have achieved the full capabilities of 5G yet. So, but the thing is like how we can achieve the full capabilities, we need extra support. So I think this is where this AI can bring in. So AI can optimize these technologies so we can have like a better 6G services in terms of capacity or whatever the services we are going to provide it, or whatever the latency we are going to achieve. I think the AI can play a bigger role in order to achieve that. In terms of security, I think, as I mentioned during my talk also, like the AI integration itself is a big challenge. So that's something we have to think in the 6G domain.
Thank you. Well, I think I now quite understand why I was chosen as the first moderator, because with my police engineer's background, law and order and driving speed I'm been very watchful about time that despite the organizer give me another 5 more minutes, but I'm still under great constraint of time. So thank you, gentlemen. But now I think that before I find any further question, I better ask any question from the floor. If you can raise your hands and identify yourself, we can put your microphone that you can take the opportunity to ask questions. Any questions from the floor? That's a very rare opportunity. Remember that they will take turns to come back to Asia. Let me remind you, the summit will not be in Asia next year. So any question? Also, let me check with the organizer. Any question online from our online delegates? Okay. Okay, I got the question. The question from the online delegates is, I think most people would agree that 5G has not lived up to its hype. What lessons can be taken to ensure we don't have the same experience with 6G? Are current hopes realistic, and how can these be achieved? I think this is a very fair question. Don't you agree, Philip?
I do. And the challenge, I think, for 5G is that an awful lot of people, before even the technology was developed, were telling us all the things it was going to do. And all the things that was going to do were the things that people had watched on science fiction movies. And what we've discovered in a lot of things is actually people overpromise. I think 5G has actually been a very successful technology. It is a cost-effective way of delivering data, although we do need to move away from the matrix of per gigabit per second and actually get to real cost effectiveness. But it's also done one thing phenomenally well. For consumers, you probably don't see that much of a difference. But for businesses, it's enabled a business conversation for people to think about using wireless in businesses and enterprises. Whether the business or enterprise is using 5G technology or other things, it's actually using wireless. And I think 5G itself has enabled people to think about mobile not just being the thing that's done by mobile operators, but where you can have private network domains, whether they're provided by the public network or whether it's provided by a dedicated network. And it's that sort of capability that I think 5G through the stuff has opened, and we're seeing new ways in which people are using the technology that's not necessarily just whizzing around on their mobile phones and doing things. So I think it's been a great success in that sort of thing. But I think we also in 6G need to make sure actually we're not going around talking about all sorts of strange things, that actually when you've looked at all the use cases that the mobile industry has ever talked about, they've hardly ever come to fruition. The thing that mobile's been really good at is enabling devices to go around, be used almost everywhere, and loads of applications provided over the top of those devices by other companies who are able to innovate and use the base technology to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Alexander, I remember that your slides shows you're going to have to conclude some conclusions from the European councils on our SCP. What would that be, have any impacts and implications for the journey of 6G from the European Council, Will?
Yes, definitely. I can concur what Philip said. We had a lot of hype regarding 5G, so we need to be a bit cautious when it comes to the 6G. As the RSPG, we always try to find a balanced approach, and for sure, the RSPG members and the EU member states differ in terms of population density, geographics, and so on. So we've already recognized, as already, I guess, Philip said, but this is very important for us as well, the increasing need for spectrum for verticals and local networks. It was delivered in our previous RSPG opinion. So we tend to agree, I mean, I tend to agree as well, that the spectrum needs for local and vertical use could still increase. So this is, I think, the most important lessons learned from 5G, and I think the 6G will emphasize more on that. But again, as the hype regarding 5G was like huge, we should be very cautious with that as well when it comes to 6G.
Thank you, Alexander. Now we have a question from the floor. Okay, so can I have the mic for the gentleman? Yep. Could you please identify yourself, Alice?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, Charlie, my name is Alex Orange. I work for a company. You can see our name up there on the screen. It's OmniSpace. We're a S-band satellite provider. I have a question for Peng Zhao. He's just and I have just recently been in Shanghai at Working Party 4C and 4B. One of the important outcomes of that meeting was the timeline for the standardization of the satellite component of IMT 2030. And I noticed on Peng's slide that there's a difference in the timeline, in the completion dates between the satellite component and the terrestrial component. Now, 3GPP is working on integrated standards, so presumably at some point in the future, 3GPP will come out with the integrated terrestrial and non-terrestrial network standard. But we have an ITU process where we have different dates. And it would seem to me to be a good idea to have the satellite component and the terrestrial component completed at the same time. So my question to Peng is, do you see an avenue for accelerating the satellite component timeline to bring it into line with the terrestrial timeline? And how would that be achieved?
No, thank you, Alex. I think that's a really important question. In terms of the timeline, right now we have, for example, for the IMT 2020, we had about like 2 years delay between the satellite component and terrestrial component. And on the 2030 timeline right now, it's approximately 1 year delay still. However, I mean, this timeline is really kind of indicative in nature, in the sense that that can be modified over the next, 5-6 years, because, we're talking about 2030, 2031 at this point. And the whole process, both at the ITU and 3GPP, are kind of input contribution driven, and can be, we believe that there will be a kind of an industry push, and especially from the satellite operators' perspective, will try to help to align completely between the terrestrial and the satellite components of those IMT specifications, so that it will help directly that when the manufacturer come with for the next handset or any kind of devices, they will have available both standard and specification at the same time, and it will help them to even better integrate the TN and NTN at the same time. So it is definitely possible that this timeline will accelerate further. Thank you.
Time's never good enough. Two panelists have mentioned some use cases, and actually people keep asking, are there any killer apps from generation to generation? Sometimes we will scratch our head and never really come up with a super killer apps for the next generations. But I remember in one of our last conference with the spectrums that people actually, some experts have said, speaking fairly on behalf of our distinguished friends from the mobile operators, think about your mobile plan. Are they getting costly or less costly? So the generations of higher speed, more data capacity actually may help them to lowering down our expenditures for the mobile plan to some extent. Now, I've been very watchful about time, so perhaps that I can like to ask each and everyone panelist with 1 minute to wrap up from what you have discussed and shared from these sections on the 6G strategic visions for 6G. Can I start with Matt, please?
Yeah, I think the important aspect we discuss here, like whether the 6G can live up to the standards, like what we are trying to do. I think I agree with the first comment on like we have yet to achieve the things in the 5G, and I always trying to say like in the 6G, like we try to the 6G is like the 5G plus AI or something. So we try to achieve like what we were missing. We were not able to achieve in 5G in the 6G domain with the better technological support. So I think the most of the use cases which are mentioned, it's still like more like a 5G use cases to me. So I think we are still trying to achieve what we have promised in the 5G, in the 6G with the better support and more advanced technology. So I think that's my opinion. Andy.
Thank you. Will 6G more secure?
Yeah, the security is always going to be a problem, you know, because when we are introducing new technology, where the security landscape is going to be completely different. So we can't say, okay, the previous generation is more secure or this generation is more secure, because we have to address the security issue of each and every generation separately, because we use the different technologies and the different requirement. So the security has to be adapted according to that.
Thank you. Pang?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I think the 6G, in order to be successful, really have to take the lesson learned from the 5G. Each time, each new generation has always kind of a different driver to drive to the new generation, but sometimes it's technology push, sometimes it's market pull. And the case of 5G is definitely a case of technology push. Right. So without some of the kind of the market driver, and I think in 6G, if we really focus on the kind of developing the technology, but based on the kind of outcome, what kind of outcome we want to achieve, what kind of a better characteristic we want on top of the 5G, I think that will help the industry, but also the consumer to benefit more from the 6G. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Jose?
Thank you. Well, spectrum is important. Spectrum is the enabler of those new use cases presented or that we have in our vision. So in this regard, I recommend to check out two different sources of information. The first one is the ITU recommendation on the 2030 vision, which is a very important piece of information in where you can see what 6G will be. And then the second one, it is with regards to the GSA contributions that we have sent to the different regional groups, CIRAL, CAPT, and also APT, in where we stand and we explain with more detail what the GSA believes that will be the spectrum needs for the 6G in order to, again, enable these new use cases.
Thank you, Jose. Alexander, what will be your wrap up? 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. I think 6G is a part of a bigger picture, actually, of the connectivity. That's why, as the council this time, we took this in consideration as the part of the, as I said, the bigger picture. So the infrastructure as a whole, and satellite, submarine, and terrestrial networks. But as already was mentioned, the 5G lessons learned are very important. So yes, that's why as the RSPG at this time we are focusing on this. I mean the 5G lessons learned, and we will be able to provide the 6G spectrum roadmap for Europe probably at the beginning of next year.
Thank you, Alexander. Philip.
I think don't overhype. Remember, it is a technology which is mobile, which enables everybody everywhere to connected. Don't worry about the time frames at the moment because all technologies are always late, but it will be there in a reasonable time. And let's make sure we get the economics right, because if we don't get the economics right, the industry will not invest at the speed that's needed to make sure that everybody in the world can be connected and that everybody can be part of the digital economy, of which the 6G provides a good baseline and a good framework to enable new applications to come on top of it to deliver the things we want. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I promised you, that I'm driving with experts that sometimes may not be agree with each other, but they are progressing towards one common goal to build a better society. We're in the journey of 6G technology. So can I invite each of you to put your hands together, give a big hand of applause to our distinguished panels of. Can I just ask that each panelist to still stay on the stage, Bruce?
Jolly, thank you so much. An excellent first session. Thanks to all our panelists. We are going to have a break now. And so for those online, we are back at 11:40 Hong Kong time. So refreshments are outside. Please do take a break. We'll look forward to seeing you in 20 minutes or so. Thank you.
And we will have a group photo for the panelists.
bit more belling. A warm welcome back to our second session. Just give everyone a moment to settle down. Welcome back. We're now moving on to the second session of the day. Standardization plays a pivotal role in the development of every new generation of wireless technology. And with 6G expected to launch in around 5 years, we're entering a crucial period for advancing standards development and for defining the broader vision for 6G. So to talk on this topic now, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Eddie Chu, Senior Director at ASTRI, Dr. Wen, Chair of the Board for CCSA, online Habish Kurapati, Co-Chair of the Steering Group for the Next G Alliance, also online Mohammed Arabaya, Research and Innovation Consultant with the Innovation Center CST in Saudi Arabia, and Adrian Scrace, Visiting Professor of the University of Surrey. Over to you, Eddie.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eddie from Hong Kong Applied Science and Technology Research Institute. It is my honor to be the moderator of this second session. We already have a very informative opening where the preceding presenters share the views about ITU, the vision, the use cases, etc. So in this particular panel, we will delve more into the defining of the technical specifications. Now, it is my privilege to work with the moderator, the panelists, which include people with excellent experiences in the overall standardization from 3G to 4G to 5G to 6G now. Now, we will also touch on a point, continuing with what Jolly already brought up is, well, 5G has been very technologically advanced, and we follow the conventional structure of the standardization to reach the point that we have today. But to match the industry needs, what are we going to do in the next 5 years to bring the actual industry demands back to the standardization to make 6G even more successful? So without further ado, to start, may I pass the stage to Dr. Wen to share the 6G standardization timeline and principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Director General of CA, Mr. Liang, and Guangdong Telecom Administration Director, Mr. Cai, and the ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like a short brief about the standardization in the 3GPP. And first, I would like to, maybe everybody know 3GPP. But who is 3GPP? It's maybe not everybody knew that. 3GPP is a partner organization, and altogether we had at the moment 7 standard bodies at the 3GPP organizer. Arab from Japan, artists from the American, CCSA from China, ETSI from Europe, TSDSI from India, and TTA from Korea, TTC from Japan. That is the 3GPP's how to organize it. This is 7 organizer partner responsible for the general policy things. But I would like to say Audrey knew that more familiar than me. He is personally, he is the history of the 3GPP. And so that is. And in the standardization, I think mainly carried on the TSG. And the 3 TSG, they are the CT is the core network and the terminal, and the radio access network RAN, and the service and the system aspect SA. These 3 study group is very important, is the main body for the standardization. The TSG prepare, approve, and maintain the 3GPP technical standards and the technical report. They are responsible for the detailed time frame and the management of work's progress. In general, new service, cost saving, and new technology are main driving force for 6G. New business and new demands bring new opportunities and value to 6G. New 6G core is an engine to enable the commercial success of new service. New technologies such as AI are important driving force for the innovation of 6G core. Resolving pain point of existing deployment is crucial, as many people talking about what's the different 5G and 6G. So 5G's pain is the future, is the important work point for 6G. 3GPP have 2 important workshops for 6G to gathering the consensus for industry. The first one is the MT 2030 user cases workshop in May of last year. And the second one is the TSG-wide 6G workshop in March 2025. It should be highlighted that those 2 6G workshops have attracted general interest from not only traditional telecommunication company, but also vertical partner and organizations. Obviously, the success of 6G will generate great influence on the telecommunication and all vertical industries. Now we are standing at the very beginning of 6G. For the 3GPP, at the leading 6G standardization developing organization will finalize the first version of 6G specification within 2 releases, namely release 20 and the release 21. The main study work will be operated in the release 20 and the detail in the next slides. And the first set of 3GPP 6 technical specification and will be released for the IMT 2030 submission before the 2030 and expected to be delivered with a single drop. This slide shows the whole picture of release 20's work. The 6G requirement release work has started in the last year, and it is expected to have consensus on 6G requirement from the 3GPP point of view, covering both SA and RAN till the middle of 2026. RAN and SA2 working group level 6G study item will begin in June, and the study scope will be approved next TSG plenary meeting. The study work will complete in the first quarter of 2027. SA3, SA4, SA5, and SA6 will also have a study item for 6G separately, and the details of scope and the completion time are still open. The detailed information related item is provided in this slide. They are the, I'm not for the detail, they are the SA and RAN and the CT. We provide some design principle for 6G for the SA side. Firstly, support 6G standalone architecture. We know for the 5G, we have two steps. The first step is non-SA, non-standalone. The second step is standalone. For China, we skip the non-NSA. We directly use the SA. So from the experience of 5G, we have the consensus for the 6G. Standalone architecture is important. Secondly, fully integrated with AI, the new technology to realize the new 6G core. And also energy is important. Energy efficiency, resilience, and agility, simplicity, and scalability is practiced in different details than designs. Both communication enhancement and beyond communication are supported. And for the communication enhancement part, redesign of network function and the non-access spectrum to increase the flexibility and agility of the system and improve end-to-end user experience. For the beyond the communication part, AI agent communication, flexible network design with new capabilities, such as sensing, computing, customized service with agility network management and data as service should be considered. The 6G design principle for RAN side. Firstly, 6G new air interface and standalone operation should be supported. Secondly, superior performance compared to the 5G with improvement in coverage, user experience, spectral efficiency, and system capacity. Thirdly, system simplification to avoid have too many specifications options for achieving similar function. Energy efficiency, and also unified design for TN and NTN, and so on. This slide shows some activities in the China IMT 2030. This is a group with the name. And fortunately, we use this IMT 2030 first for use the 6G promotion group for 6G standardization. For the IMT 2030 promotion group has organized the 6G standardization release discussion in China and provide contribution to 3GPP official workshops in the order to have a better understanding of 6G requirement and system design. Two 6G standardization related workshops have been held in China in last year and this year. In addition, IMT 2030 6G promotion group also hosts the Global 6G Development Conference per year to share their frontier innovation and the frontlining and the technologies for the 6G and the public list 6G related important achievement. And from the CCIC side, we promoted support the 3GPP and ITU 6G's work. Our philosophy is one word, one 6G standard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wen. I'm
I would like to remark that we have a very good mix of panelists. Dr. Wen definitely represents the activities in mainland China. And next up, we have Dr. Havesh Kurapathy, who will be representing XG Alliance. And perhaps what he is about to share includes the views from North America. Havesh, are you online? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I would like to invite you to start your presentation. Thank you, Havesh.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, thanks very much to the organizers for inviting the NextG Alliance to this 6G Global Summit to discuss the path to 6G standards. So I'm Havesh Kurapati. I work at Ericsson, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the steering group in the NextG Alliance. So if we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so what I would like to start off with is to, before we talk about 6G standards, it might be useful to discuss a little bit the foundations for the NextG Alliance's 6G vision here. So the vision includes a 6G roadmap that spans the entire life cycle, culminating in 6G standards by the end of the decade. It also includes priorities for leadership, incorporating application, societal needs, economic goals, and actions from government that can be helpful, and most importantly, technology developments. And this looking at 6G from an entire life cycle perspective, that considers a kind of holistic perspective spanning all of these priorities has led the NextG Alliance to set some goals for 6G that we have called the audacious goals for 6G. If we go to the next slide. So the life cycle approach I mentioned is basically captured in this slide. The path to 6G first starts with research, and the NextG Alliance has identified key research priorities, applications, and technology development areas through its publications. It has also provided a forum for interactions between various parts of the ecosystem, including academia, industry, and government and policymakers. The transition from research then in the first phase to support for development and manufacturing is a very crucial step. The NextG Alliance has provided a platform for policymakers to understand the best way to support this transition, and has provided an industry perspective on some key issues to help set a conducive environment for development and manufacturing in the 6G timeframe. And of course, the main topic for today, the standardization, is the essential step that will directly create 6G standards. And as has happened in other regions, the NextG Alliance has articulated the needs and goals for 6G from a North American perspective and communicated that to 3GPP as part of its input to the 3GPP SA1 workshop that was last year. And finally, I would say that this life cycle perspective makes it evident that generating standards itself is not enough. So once the standards are complete, we also need market readiness and realization to deploy networks based on 6G standards and enable a 6G marketplace that meets economic, policy, and societal goals. And this part is equally important in order to ensure that the reach of 6G benefits society. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, so one thing I would like to touch upon here is that these audacious goals that I referred to that were set for 6G by the NextG Alliance, on the top right here, we list these goals, and they're basically trust, security, and resilience, digital world experience, cost efficiency, distributed cloud and communication systems, AI native future networks, and sustainability. So these are the 6 goals that were identified early on. And the research priorities that were identified by the NextG Alliance are listed at the bottom right here and include areas beyond the traditional core radio access technologies and AI/ML, which is very much in the conversation right now. But the goals also, the research areas include security, joint communication sensing, sustainability, amongst many, many others. So far, one thing to point out is that the NextG Alliance has done its work within 6 working groups until today, with guidance from the steering group and a research council and a full member group, that is the overall top level group for the NextG Alliance. But considering the start of standardization right now, the NextG Alliance is reorganizing itself into 4 working groups instead of the 6 that are shown here on the bottom left of the screen. So going forward from next month, we will operate within these 4 working groups. And if you go to the next slide. So I noticed that these slides, the next 2 or 3 slides actually are going to be the same as Dr. Koo presented. So I maybe will go through this rather quickly. Yeah, I think as he said, so this shows this is from the 3GPP leadership and shows the overall 6G work plan. There was this workshop that was held in May of last year that I referred to, where the NextG Alliance use case priorities were provided. And one of these notably was that, at least from a North American perspective, having enablers in the initial release of 6G to be able to evolve low power wide area technologies was identified as something that was a little bit unique from a North American perspective. So, and then the other use cases, there's a lot of overlap with many other regions as well. And another area I would highlight is also fixed wireless access, which is quite important from a North American perspective. In any case, then there was a first 6G workshop that was spanning all the TSGs that was held in March of this year. And this kind of kicked off 6G in full steam. And studies for 6G will now start from release 20, and the normative work for producing specifications will start from release 21. I won't go into the details since those were already presented just now. We can go to the next slide. And this shows the timeline, and I think it was the same slide also that was shown before. And maybe some things to point out here are that the SA1 6G study on use cases and requirements is ongoing and scheduled to complete in March of next year. And as many of you may know, the SA1 working group essentially starts a little bit sooner than all of the other working groups in order to set these use cases and requirements. So this slide also shows the timelines for the studies in other working groups. SA2 studies, including architecture, will continue until end of 2026 or first quarter of 2027, while the RAN working group studies will complete basically by mid-2027. And the slide also shows the timeline for the IMT 2030 technical performance requirements all the way at the bottom. And this is an important piece since 6G basically, the specifications resulting from release 21, which will be completed no later than, or no earlier than March of 2029, that it's expected that these will be submitted to ITU for IMT 2030. And then we can go to this last slide, but I think, yeah, if we go to the next slide, yeah. So maybe I won't say much about this. This is, I think, has the same information in a different format and was also presented by Dr. Koo. So maybe I'll stop here and just say in conclusion that we are now at a stage where the key milestones and timeline for 6G are well set, and 6G standardization is well underway. And the next 3 to 4 years will be an exciting time in the continuing evolution of mobile networks as we define 6G. So for all of the people in the ecosystem involved with this, it's a very good time to be good time to be in this industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Havish. Continuing our 6G journey around the globe, next I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Al-Rabeya, excuse me, representing the Communication Space and Technology Commission of Saudi Arabia, to share your insight about 6G standardization. Muhammad, are you online?
Yes. Do you hear me, Eddie?
Sorry,
Eddie,
please start,
do you hear
but
me?
your voice is a little unclear.
Hello? I hope my voice is clear right now. Good morning to you, Eddie. Good morning to my fellow panelists. And of course, a special good morning to the great audience that you guys have before you. I'm really glad for being here today with you. Unfortunately, not in person, but at least in a virtual form, which is the like a testament for the wonder of telecommunication. My contribution today will not be as standard-oriented as my fellow panelists. I'm not as well-versed as they are in the standardization process, but I'm hoping that I will be providing some sort of a regulatory perspective to the standardization process. Basically, I work for the ICT and space industry regulator of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And in that role, we don't really get into like, we don't have like firsthand or like direct interaction with the standardization process, but we like to think of ourselves as influencers of that process. We do that through publishing policies, public consultations, monitoring progress that's being done by similar bodies or standardization bodies across the globe. Our approach is basically anchored in the method of engagement. We are trying our best to continuously engage the telecommunication industry as a whole, the global telecommunication industry, by publishing vision, policies, and putting them out to the whole industry so that we can hear from them and inform our direction, inform our market, inform our neighboring markets as well, because we don't live in isolation. We actually interact with the global telecommunication market at its largest scale. So basically, as a regulator, we like to go through cycles of what we call a spectrum outlook. We believe spectrum is the foundation for any telecommunication technology. And that's why we usually do a spectrum outlook, and we publish that outlook every 3-4 years to get a sense of where the industry is going, share our thoughts, hear from feedback from key global players, whether telcos, vendors, other regulators, even on the individual level. We get feedback from individuals, people with experience in the telecommunication industry. We analyze that kind of feedback, and we try to set our roadmap for the next 3 or 4 years. This way, I believe we can get as close as possible as a regulator to the standardization process without actually taking a leading role there. So basically, we are trying to influence that process by sharing our views and vision. When we talk about 6G, just would like to mention a few things that are usually of interest to us as a regulator. When we talk about 6G, we always look at the demand of different industries. We care about how this 6G will grow the telecommunication industry in Saudi Arabia and also in other countries and our neighboring countries that we interact with. Generally speaking, when we talk about 6G, we talk about the needs, the demands, and this is where we start our journey or start our discussions usually with the standardization bodies. What vertical industries need is something of interest to us because we see 6G as a unified platform of transformation. We've envisioned 5G to be that platform, and it is actually that platform. However, we would like to always inject a better and a further, let's say, advanced transformation into various industries of our economy through the modernization or evolution of the telecommunication infrastructure. And hopefully through this discussion that we're going to have, we'll get a chance to shed some light on some of the concerns, some of the, let's say, points of interest that we see as a regulator on what could be the best way to come up with a 6G standard that it's different from 5G, but it's a huge step forward in the sense that it enables better technologies, it enables better use cases, and eventually contribute strongly to the digital economy, not only in Saudi Arabia, but across the globe. Thank you, Eddie. I think this is all I have to say right now, and I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. And last but not least, I would like to invite Professor Adrian Skreis, as you told me, to share your vision about the standard. And also, I would like to echo Dr. Wen, you are the history of 3GPP. And before you start, I just hope to you can also cover one point that I noticed, as Havish pointed out. When we look at the standardization progress, the timeline, obviously Dr. Wen and Havish used a similar message. That's because this is how the standard works. But Mohammed also brought up a point is definitely different countries, different parties actually have their different demands. So how do we fit everything into the standard? And after that, in the open discussion, we'll continue our pre-meeting discussion on how do we actually make 6G more successful, starting from the standardization. So without further ado, please start.
And you want me to do that in 5 minutes?
So take however long you need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have slides to present, but I would like to make some observations, taking into account what we heard in the first panel this morning and what we've heard from my fellow panelists in this session, because it's rather clear that from a timeline point of view, that's very well established. We also know that we're following the same process for 6G as we followed for 5G. So there's nothing new there. We have a very meticulously planned series of events that are going to take place that will lead us up to 2030, when the 6G standards will first be delivered. But one observation really is that that's only 4 years from now. Standards completion will take place at some point during 2029. The current decision in 3GPP is it won't be before March 2029. The absolute date has not yet been fixed, but it will probably be somewhere around September 2029. That's only 4 years, which is not a lot of time to, if you look at the process charts, to undertake studies, to evaluate technology proposals, and to write standards, a complete set of standards with very audacious goals, if I use Hamish's expression, which I rather like. But that's 4 years. I mean, that really is going to put industry under quite some pressure if they're to do that job correctly. So that's at least my first observation. The timeline for the terrestrial component is fixed in stone. I think there's no scope to change that. We learned this morning that for the satellite component, there is some room for that timeline to be accelerated and to actually align the two components from the satellite and the terrestrial components, which I think would be an admirable goal if we can actually achieve that. But I think we need to be careful when we talk about timelines and expectations, because 2030, the magic number, is only day one of the next generation. And the generation typically has a life of several decades. And I think this is one of the lessons to be learned from 5G. We made a lot of, we set the expectations very high, and people assumed that because the standard would be available on day one, that it would be deployed on day one. And history is showing that actually that's not happening, because we didn't have the market readiness in some markets for 5G standalone deployment. So if we take a snapshot of where we are right now, the vast majority of 5G deployments are non-standalone, 3GPP release 15, regrettably. Here we are in Hong Kong, which is probably one of the most advanced 5G markets, and I include China as well in this statement, where we have standalone deployment from day one. They're so far ahead in their deployment, but that's not typical of markets elsewhere in the world. So 3GPP, as we know, is working on release 20 now, and yet the most commonly deployed release is release 15, and in some cases release 16. So the distance between standards availability and standards deployment appears to be getting greater. And this is something of concern for me, at least. You know, how far ahead should standards be of the market. It wasn't like that historically. I know I see this gap getting bigger. And if we look at what's happening in the markets right now, by 2030, when the ink will just be drying on 6G standards for day one, many markets will only be having preliminary experience of deploying 5G standalone. So it's clear those markets are not likely to be ready for a big technology bang because they're still leveraging the 5G standards. So I think that's something we need to be very careful of is, how far ahead of the market should the standardization process actually become. On a positive side, we've also heard again, it's been repeated again today more than once, is that the industry wants to see a single global unified standard for 6G. And I've not heard anyone really argue about that because we've learned our lesson historically that having different flavors of generations in different regions of the world has not been helpful from an economic point of view. So there is general agreement that by 2030, we should have a single global unified standard. The difficulty I see is that standard will need to provide a trajectory for two generic markets. That market which wishes to evolve from where they are with 5G today and take small steps, leverage emerging technologies that will enable them to continue to exploit their 5G deployments with more efficiency, less energy consumption, and greater profitability. That's clear. There are other markets that will want to have a trajectory that takes them to a technological leap to the future, a big bang 6G, if you like. But if we want to have a single global standard that satisfies both of those trajectories, and we have only 4 years to do that, then I think that is going to be a challenge. And finally, I think the one expression which we need to emphasize more and more, at least during this event, is how you monetize these standards. Because one of the problems we have heard already today is that some markets where 5G has been deployed has not resulted in great increases in revenue. And it will be difficult to convince operators that they should upgrade to a new technology unless they can be convinced that it will be economically advantageous to do so. So I'll stop there with my opening remarks, Eddie.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, for the wonderful sharing. May I take a few minutes just to follow up on a few points that I picked up. First of all, I really like the word that Havish used, Adrian used, is audacious. I think 6G needs a lot of audacity to make it work. A question for Havish. As you are a standard representative for many years, I started doing standardization work myself in the 5G era, started my career in the late 4G era. So as Adrian pointed out, 4G started as release 8 and then all the way to release 14 and then starting release 15, that's 5G and so on and so forth. So we know that starting from release 21, we'll probably have the so-called 6G. But from the standard perspective, first of all, I am seeing less enthusiasm for companies to work on the standard. So how are the companies' attitude towards this? Are they still investing as much in the standardization effort? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, would it be possible that, following on Adrian's comment, that maybe people will skip the first release and start with later releases? Because in the 4G, you see the release 9 as the most popular, and then upgrade probably the release 10 and just, kind of slow down, and 5G and so on and so forth. Would it be possible with a so-called uneven time scale of rollout that we may pick up 6G at a later stage of the standardization? Can you please comment, Havish?
Yeah, thanks for the excellent questions. So in terms of the interest from companies, especially like mine, Ericsson and other vendors and, many other companies as well, I would say the interest is still there, but I think we must recognize a couple of realities. One is that now we are talking about 6G. So across all the generations, there has been a technological evolution, which means that the kind of changes that we make, for example, going from 2G to 3G, are not necessarily going to be exactly the same going, say, from 5G to 6G. So because some parts of the entire stack and the system are a lot more mature now than they were before, right? So therefore, I think that so that's one reality that changes the, it's so, I think for people who kind of traditionally look at, let's say, well, we got 10x the improvements in a lot of core metrics, maybe 2 decades ago. Why are we not seeing the same? I think this new technological maturity is part of that. But having said that, I think another reality here is that, all of these technologies, including the connectivity that we are building, is interconnected with a bunch of other technologies. So, for example, AI has now gotten so much attention and is advancing very rapidly. Similarly, cloud technologies and the way networks are actually being deployed are also changing things quite rapidly, right? So there are many more modes of deployment now. I think the spectrum situation as well is a bit more fragmented. It's harder to find bands that are unified across the world. So given all of these things, I think it's natural, what Adrian rightly pointed out, that there will be multiple vectors in the market. Some will kind of deploy, very quickly. Some will deploy more slowly. But I think the important thing for us in our industry to recognize is that it is important to keep our part of the technology evolution going, because what happens that creates the market demand in the end is not just our piece of the pie. It's also device technologies, semiconductor technologies, all kinds of things that come together. So we want the mobile connectivity technology to be ready when that next wave of traffic growth happens, due to all of the other ancillary technologies that surround it, to in the end put a really compelling service in the hands of the end user.
Thank you. Adrian, you have a point to share?
Well, can I just pick up on some of the points
definitely,
that Hamish makes? Because, and in fact, one of the points you made, because I agree entirely that where I talk about two trajectories representing the extremes of markets, if you like, all operators will want to benefit from the latest technologies. They don't want to slip behind technologically. It's not that they want to remain a 5G operator for the next 20 years and not evolve, not at all. But it's the clever bit is how do you provide this trajectory that enables them to do that stepwise rather than a big bang in 2030. Coming back to your point, I don't think it will be a matter of skipping releases, because there is going to be political pressure around 6G deployment, for sure. Every nation wants to put their hand up and say, we were the first to deploy 6G. And this is not a technology debate, it's a political debate, but that pressure will be there for many nations to be able to claim that they have deployed 6G. And we need to provide a mechanism for them to do that, taking into account the two extremes of markets that I spoke about earlier. So I don't think it's necessarily skipping releases, but providing the opportunity for those market extremes to both claim that they have deployed 6G, and legitimately so.
I understand. Thank you. And that brings actually to a question I hope to seek Dr. Wen's comment. Apparently, China is leading the pack. We have to admit this. And already, as Dr. Wen listed out, a number of activities already showcasing. So on top of all the achievements in 5G that China already made, so what do you see as the next breakthrough in this technology and the standardization that we'll see in the next few years, riding on this particular schedule?
I think your question is very challenging for me. And already, I think we had make some achievement in the 5G stage. And also, we pay much attention for the next generation, of course. And 6G is represented the innovation, represented the advanced technology. So, and our operator, manufacturer, and research institute university worked very hard on this new technology area of 6G. And I think for the question, some operator will skip some release. From my experience, I worked in the ministry. We think we shouldn't escape generally for some release, but we can make some trial. Even the standardization not release frozen, and we have some trial. And the research institute and the operator and the manufacturer work together and to get the experience. This is very important. This is not important for the deployment, but also very important for the input for the standardization. Standardization is very important. Standardization is the bridge from the innovation to the product, to the commercial. And the standardization table is also very important for the different view to sit together around the table for the discussion. So I think we should work hard from the all aspects of the operator, manufacturer, research institute should work together, and the world, different country, research institute from the operator research university to work together. That is very important. I think 3GPP provides this platform for all the people who are interested in that. And so by the time being, we work together, we think together with one target. That is what we think from China. And also for ourselves, as a CCSA, we are in the 3GPP, we are the representative body for the operator, manufacturer, and research institute university from China. And so we will gathering our people, work hard with the people in the world in the platform of 3GPP and ITU.
Thank you, Dr. Wen. I would like to seek Mohammed's comment on standardization. So you mentioned you represent a regulatory body, and so you follow the standard, etc. Is there any particular point that you believe will address your local interest that you hope the standardization body can focus more on? Because this would actually lead to the virtual question that I will bring up after your comment, please.
Thank you, Eddie. Before I get to addressing your question, I'd like to just to pick up on one thing that Dr. Adrian has eloquently raised, which is the political aspect of deploying and pushing for a certain technology to be launched. This is really an important aspect. This is a very important, probably, perspective, because when it comes to an important technology like a wireless technology like 6G, it is not only about commercialization or technology advancement. It's basically, for some nations, for some ambitious nations, it's a way to motivate the whole nation to evolve and adopt the latest technologies and push for certain digital growth. Launching 6G is really not a question only of commercial value, but in some areas of the world, it's a political question. Now, getting back to what you just mentioned about standardization, we usually like to monitor from distance as a regulator how things play out between regulatory bodies and the contributors in the regulatory bodies, but we also try to inject our let's say vision or our basically insights that we gather or gain from regulating a market or closely monitoring how a certain market is like the players in a certain market are interacting. Monetization is usually and always one aspect that we need to keep in mind when developing a new technology. However, technology should be also, or the next phase of the wireless technology should be also something that could be adopted by a wider range of of players, not only telcos and specialized providers, but also by enterprises. We would like to have a standard that could be easily deployed and easily, let's say, customized. Something like what we have in the information technology industry. Something that I would like to call IT-friendly, probably a standard. Basically, from our experience in the past 5 years, we noticed a lot of challenges in adopting 5G technology in vertical industries. It requires a lot of expertise, which are not usually or commonly available to vertical industries. And we hope that when 6G is developed, when the standard is being developed, we keep in mind that the users of that technology might not be only telcos who are going to, be in charge of deploying and launching that technology. We would like it also to consider other players that come from different backgrounds, especially IT backgrounds, which are usually running most of vertical industries. This way, we can guarantee having a standard that is integratable with IT infrastructure, with IT, let's say, economics. So basically, that's what we think when we talk about 6G nowadays.
Thank you. Thank you. Adrian, please.
Yeah, can I pick up on
most definitely
one of Mohammed's points, because it's something that's been bothering me at least recently. Is in if you follow the trade press, there's an awful lot of negative messaging about 5G, and hardly a day goes by when you don't see a story telling you that 5G is a disappointment. It didn't do what it set out to do, and we have to take some blame for that.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's very helpful as an industry if we continue bad messaging. We're great at writing technology standards, but we need to be better at our communications. And I think as the 6G plan starts to mature, we need to have more effort in being realistic to the outside world, but also being positive in saying, how 6G is going to be a great technology because this is what it's going to do. And we need to be sure that messaging is realistic. We mustn't overhype as we did last time, but we must try and move away from some of the negative messaging that's reiterative in the press, because governments follow this, and governments will start to get nervous if what they see is our own industry talking negatively about its achievements. So I know most of us are technology people, but we do need some help from communications experts, really, to make sure that we are much more realistic and positive in the way that we position 6G.
So far from the publicity, I see that 6G has taken a more pragmatic approach in selling what it's supposed to do. Back in the 5G days 10 years ago, with the blink of an eye, 10 years passed by. 5G, we emphasize on 10 times the performance on every faucet. So 6G, so far, as we have seen, we're more focused on the new use cases, the new capabilities. So I think that's a good start. Now, allow us to move forward on this panel. We have received a virtual question, a very good question, and it's actually, and we do have the most suitable panel composition to address this because of how international we are. The virtual question we got is, with all the geopolitical challenges being seen at the moment, how realistic is it that we're going to end up with a single harmonized set of standards for 6G? And this is actually a tough question. Well, I would like to share my 2 cents to start. I think 6G or 3GPP works so as it is conceived the way it is very global in nature. We're talking about spectrum bands and a set of technical standards. Now, when it comes to specific technology and IPs as in intellectual property, then it might become a problem. So to start, may I seek the words of wisdom from the history?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very positive in this respect because I've seen historically what happens in bodies like 3GPP, and there is an industry-wide desire to have this single standard, the single global unified standard. That does mean that the use of consensus will be stretched to its limits because it is a consensus forming body. It means that industry will have to be more willing to concede if they are a minority voice, where minority is open to interpretation. But I think there is a global willingness to do that, provided that the standards bodies are left to their own execution. Yeah. If there is external influence upon which we have no control, then maybe I would change my view. But I haven't seen that, and I don't predict that. And I think bodies like 3GPP are very well practiced in reaching consensus around technological ideas, even if that means some big companies will have to concede. Everyone has to give and take a little bit. Yes. But actually, I'm rather positive that 3GPP is the right sort of body where that can take place.
And I want to, Dr. Wen, please.
Yeah, I think the single standard it benefit many things, and we had experience with the single standard, but we also had the different standard experience. And for example, you can use your mobile phone go around the world. That is the benefit of the single standard, and that is quite simple. And also from the economic point of view, and the one standard, one equipment that can decrease the cost for the manufacturer. So I think anyway, from the economic point of view, from the technology point of view, and also one standard is the most economic and most cheap and most helpful for the people to use. So that is, I think, under the umbrella of ITU and with the help platform of the 3GPP, and this very helpful at the moment. And also around the world, the technical people have the consensus last year, and we had achievement for the one standard for 6G for the one world.
Perfect. Havish, any comment from your side?
Yes, I think excellent points by both Professors Kress and Dr. Koo. I think, yes, I would agree that, while there are always pressures, and the pressures, as we alluded to earlier, are kind of increasing also on the technological front and so on. So, at the same time, I think we can be quite confident that on the current trajectory, we will have a single 6G global standard, primarily because, as has already been pointed out, I think the global economies of scale, especially on the air interface, are undeniable. And as Dr. Koo said, I mean, we've all seen in different regions, how things were when we didn't have that, right? But I mean, having said that, I mean, we do have a few more challenges in coordination aspects we need to take care of. For instance, due to a lot of the customer demands from many operators, I mean, we now have the O-RAN Alliance, for example, generating some additional complementary specifications, and this kind of management between O-RAN and 3GPP will also have to happen. We just had a joint, but on that front, we had a joint workshop a couple of weeks ago, and it shows a very good sign that that cooperation can happen. The last thing I would say is that I think we should not underestimate the culture that we have established in 3GPP, and I'm particularly honored to be on the same panel as Adrian here, who's one of the fathers of 3GPP and was there right at the start. But I think, as he pointed out, we have tremendous experience in 3GPP for people and companies from all over the world to come together with completely different ideas and still converge, and roughly every 18 months come up with a new release of specifications. I mean, if you actually think about, especially in light of this question on geopolitical challenges, I mean, if you think about what we are able to achieve in this standardization perspective, it is a truly amazing thing. And I don't believe we're going to stop. We will continue to do this for 6G.
Thank you. I have a relatively shorter experience than the three panelists, but just from what I know over the years, a non-harmonized set of standards have failed, and that's why we had the 3GPP in the first place. And then we touch on a point that it is very important to monetize the new technology to start with. And if we cannot benefit from the same level of economy of scale, then basically is a dead end. And that's why for the industry's interests, a single harmonized standard will one way or another manifest itself. So I hope we have addressed the online question. And moving forward, any question from the floor, please? Yeah, please. Yeah. Please kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, I'm Julian Stafford from the Critical Communications Association. Having worked with 3GPP across numerous vertical sectors for the past 5 or 6 years, so rail, emergency services, maritime, utilities, and so on, one of the things we tried to do a lot in 5G was to interpret what the requirements were of those industry sectors or verticals, with fairly limited success so far. And I think the challenge there was, actually, as Mohammed said, the skill sets that exist in 3GPP don't necessarily cross over with those of the industry verticals, and vice versa. And many of those industry verticals themselves will simply not commit to send representatives to every single 3GPP session. So we end up in a scenario where we have functionality in 5G, which is a kind of best guess as what the industry thought that those verticals needed. So I just wondered if there are any ideas how we can make that easier in 6G or more successful, you know, easier to access those meetings, potentially less time consuming for other sectors whose bread and butter work isn't developing telecom standards. So yeah, to anyone on the panel who wants to comment on that.
Allow me to give a first crack at this question. Well, this question has to do with the composition of 3GPP to start with, which is spearheaded by mobile network operators and then equipment vendors, where their primary mentality when designing the technology is to serve public networks, to address the mass market needs. It's not like they don't care about the vertical industries, it's just a technology prioritization. But with all the leaders present today, I think the request is heard of. The key word, as Adrian mentioned many times, is monetization. If the market is towards the vertical industry, I believe there will be a change in the culture. May I seek some comment from the panelists? Anybody would like to share your comment?
I can, but I cannot comment as 3GPP because I'm no longer directly involved in 3GPP. But one benefit of being semi-retired is that I have time to look more objectively at what's going on and reflect on what's happened over the last couple of decades. And actually, I'm an advocate of saying that 3GPP should reflect inwardly and rethink about whether it's most effectively constructed to deal with the new situation. As Julian quite rightly says, you know, we have new players coming to the standardization community. How can we ensure that they, first of all, feel welcome within the club, that they feel they're being listened to? Of course, they cannot just come along and be disruptive. That's also clear. And there needs to be a market opportunity for those who are the vendors who provide the products to sell to these industry groups. But personally, I think there is a need to look more inwardly within 3GPP and revisit some of the structural elements, because actually it's been in existence now for 25 years, that project, and it hasn't changed organizationally hardly at all, and process-wise hardly at all in that time. So personally, I would promote revisiting the structure and seeing how we can adapt to the new world where we have groups that are not telco-centric coming to write standards.
Dr. Wen, you would like to share some comments?
Yeah, I think this question is a very good question. It's also, in my presentation, I said pinpoint And think that from the 5G experience, we had very, very high expectation for the applications. But later on, we found out the very big gap between our expectation and the reality. And but anyway, I think if we compare with the 4G and the 5G, we will very happy to see the very good result. In the 5G, we had a lot already many applications. Even these applications not meet our requirement, not meet our expectation in the very beginning. But in reality, we had a very good result at the moment. And in China, we had a competition. We called it a Bloom Cup competition. That means we ask for the competition company to join us and to compete each other. Every year at the moment, we had more than 10,000 good example for the competition. And through this competition, recall these cases, this application is very helpful. But even from this competition, we found out some pinpoint for the 5G network. For example, the core network resilience is also very important for the vertical. Some vertical company need a lot of applications, which 5G network is hard to meet or to pay a very high cost to meet. That is the point out the good way for the future, for the next G-core network. So all this issue and should put into consideration for the 6G future, the 6G design. So I think we should not blame the vertical industry because for the telecom, we designed the network. We hope the network can be used for all aspects. But in reality, the digitalization level in the vertical company is different. Some the digitalization, some companies area digitalization is very good, but some company is very it's a very big gap. So for the digitalization transformation, it's not only telecom itself, it's the whole society's task. So we should, from telecom side, we should use the new technology to get more and more vertical industry in the digitalization path. That is our point. Let's take personally, I thought one thing, electricity as an example. Electricity invented in the 1980s, and even now, the new applications for the electricity is day by day have. And for example, like the background, if you think the 50 years ago with this background, you will see the many difficulties. But with the new technology for the LED, this background is cheap and brilliant. So I think in the telecommunication, the mobile communication, we will go the same way to go for that. At the moment, it's very hard for the very good applications, but by the effort of all of us, we will have the bright future for the information applications, and especially for the AI at the moment. With this bright future, it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. I'm afraid that we're out of time, but through this open discussion, I'm relieved that there's still a future for 6G. And we also had a question about what are the driving forces to push the deployment of 6G. Well, we already have the answer over the course of the last 5 minutes, where at least we see there will be a lot of demands in the vertical industries, and there's still room to develop new technology. There is a supply demand to drive the whole technology evolution. And having said that, may I ask for a round of applause for the panelists for sharing their views on 6G standardization. Thank you. And we will have a quick group photo. Thank you so much.
Eddie, and to all the panels. Thank you. My sense is that could have gone on for a bit longer, that particular session, but it is lunchtime. So we're going to take a break now. Lunch is in the room sort of behind you, and we should be back here for 2 o'clock. So for those online, 2 o'clock Hong Kong time to restart. Thank you all. And if the panelists...